All right, three, two, one. We are recording. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mamano, bringing you incredible thought leaders and superstars for over 3.5 years now, every week. And what I try to do with this podcast is really help entrepreneurs, beginning to middle stage entrepreneurs, give them the inspiration and the information and the skills they need to not only succeed, but to really be just inspire growth at that next level. And today I have on the show just an incredible guest that if you read his books and follow his writings and see him speak, I can guarantee your company will massively grow. I almost want to guarantee like at least 5%, or I'm not 5%, 500% in the next few years. John DiJulius, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's such a pleasure to be on it.
Well, John, I have known you for on and off here for, I would say, at least 10 years. When I was in the EO chapter here in Western New York, you came to speak at the Bellhurst Castle on one of the Finger Lakes. Do you remember that day?
I do. It's great. A great group. I'm still in contact with a lot of them. Our mutual friend Jennifer, who's in Florida now.
Yes.
And there's so many, Greg Lederman, and there's so many great people out of that chapter.
Yeah, you probably know Brian Bro and Ralph D'Andrea and all those guys, right? Jim Kuriak.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're just like Cleveland, you know. We've got some good stock up here in Western New York, you know.
Very true. You got to be with the weather changing.
I know. I say that we're hardy people because we experience the full thrust of all four seasons.
Right. Exactly. But I love it. The people make it.
Yep, it is. It's just like Cleveland, right? It's we're almost like specific grapevines from the soil of that region of the country, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You could put us in different parts of the world, but you'll still see Rochester. You'll still see Cleveland, right? So, John, I want to read your bio so everybody can get to know you a little bit more, and then I'm going to really talk about your great and exciting journey. So, John DiJulius, the third, I might say, right? You are the Chief Revolution Officer. Love that title. And, John, your bio, have you ever wondered how there are some brands customers that they cannot live without? You think it's possible to make price irrelevant? John DiJulius will show you how to do both. John is the authority on world-class customer experience. He is an international consultant, keynote speaker, and best-selling author of 5 customer service books. His newest book, The Relationship Economy, Build Stronger Customer Connections in the Digital Age, cannot be more timely in the world that we are living in. John has worked with companies such as the Ritz-Carlton, Lexus, Starbucks, Nordstrom, Nestle, Marriott Hotels, PwC, Celebrity Cruises, Anytime Fitness, Progressive Insurance, Harley Davidson, Chick-fil-A, and many more. John isn't just talking about it. He lives it as a very successful entrepreneur. He is the founder of 3 businesses, the DiJulius Group, an international customer service consulting firm, John Roberts Spa, a chain of upscale salons in Northeast Ohio, which has repeatedly been named one of the top 20 salons in America, and Believe in Dreams, a nonprofit that helps make dreams come true for deserving children. John will demonstrate how you can make customer service your single biggest competitive advantage and become the brand customers cannot live without and make price irrelevant. Love every single piece of that. John, take us back to the beginning. I met you, when you were, I think your first book had just come out, Secret Service, which what a great title for a book. And you had written that book and it was chronicled on your success with your spa, right? You had created some very industry specific and we'll say revolutionary ideas to be different, all relating around customer service. So take us back to the beginning about starting that business and how did you start to really come up with some different ideas in the industry?
Yeah, David, I think it's probably like most entrepreneurs, everything was an accident. And I love to speak to kids. And when I mean kids, I mean, anyone, 28 and under. You know, I feel like they have so much pressure on them, especially in college, getting out of college, that they have to know what they want to do, right? And you know, if we would have been college buddies, and you would have told me back in college that I was going to own a hair salon someday, I would have given you 10-1 odds and bet you any amount of money. And you know, and then, you know, then if you had said I'd be speaking and consulting on customer service, and that would be my primary gig, again, I would have given you 10-1 odds and bet you anything you wanted. So me and my wife opened a small hair salon, and it took off. And, you know, then I jumped in it full time. And in the early mid 90s, we started making a lot of noise. And one of the reasons is our customer service was really, really strong. And, you know, we weren't known as a good, customer service hair salon. We were known as, you know, good customer experience benchmarked against any experience you might have that day. If you went from us to shopping or lunch or the doctor's office, you know, that's what we're really, you know, being compared on. So from that, you know, both in the salon industry and in locally Northeast Ohio, the noise and the attention was starting to build. People started asking me to speak, and, you know, I was flattered. And so I spoke, just, you know, not thinking it would ever turn into anything. And every time I spoke, a couple leads, you know, people would come up and say, "Hey, do you do this for companies?" And I'm like, "Yeah," you know, and they're like, "How much do you charge?" And I'm like, you know, I didn't know that was a possibility, right? So started speaking, and more opportunities led. And I'd see the legends on stage, right? The people, you know, the Jim Gilmores and Shep Hykins and Jack Daly's and all them. And, you know, I'd ask them, I said, "I think I'm pretty good at this. And, you know, how do you become, you know, a full-time speaker?" And they told me they got to write a book and, you know, do all these things. And they were so generous with their time. And so 2002, my first book came out, Secret Service. And it hit, you know, all my books are on customer service. And that basically took me from being a salon owner that spoke a half a dozen times a year to being a speaker that owns salons. And since then, 2002, I'm no longer involved in the salons. I still own them, but not anything to do with the day-to-day. And that grew the speaking and consulting, and all these great companies started hiring me. And then we turned it into a consulting practice. And today, 18 years later, it's a customer service consulting firm that works with, you know, some of the best brands, as you mentioned, in the world. And like I said, none of it was planned. I wish I could say it was, but it was just where passion, purpose, and you know, talents took me.
So, well, that is super, super fantastic. And I think you just were, you know, creating more and more value, and success found you along the way, right? You know, I mean,
I got in the way of it.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it, right? Is having the entrepreneur not get in their own way of their success, right?
Right.
You know, Viktor Frankl says, don't chase success, create value, and success will find you. And
and I like to say, don't chase money, right? You know, purpose and passion will never come from money. But, you know, if you do, you know, your passion, money finds you.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think that's really important because and I'm guilty of it, right? I think maybe we all have been to some extent. We're manic, mad scientist entrepreneurs, right? And we have a great idea. We can make a lot of money doing it. And I always have much more success when I just take a deep breath and say, what's in it for the customer? How can I wow their socks off, just create such an amazing experience? And then the success / money shows up, right? But it's focusing on what you talk about, the customer experience, right? So quick question, just from a curiosity perspective. So you have 3 businesses, but you spend most of your time doing professional speaking, keynote speaking, and consulting. So how do you manage all that? How do you set up systems? Like you just said that you're not involved with the hair salons anymore, but you own them. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, that would make them scared, right? Like, oh my God, I have 3. How many hair salons is it now?
4.
4 hair salons.
Yeah.
But so, you know, how do you feel comfortable not being there, still owning them, yet, I'm sure you're partaking in some of the profits, right, and everything. So how do you set up systems like that to make sure that you could step away from a business and do something else?
Yeah, another quote I love is that the entrepreneur should be the least valuable short-term asset a company has, right? And that's what I always wanted to do. And so something I didn't have a problem with doing was delegating. I'm fine with delegating, and I know a lot of people and entrepreneurs are reluctant because, if I teach young David to do it, it's going to take me twice as long than if I just do it. And B, he's not going to do it as well as I do, especially initially. But, we teach, young David how to do it, and he becomes a master at it, and it frees up our time to focus on what we bring in the most money at. Listen, saving $10 an hour, $12 an hour to lick stamps and stuff envelopes is not the best return on investment, and even if that means, that I get to go home an hour earlier, and I'm thinking, 27 years ago, but, not, just, burning out. So I've always had no problem delegating and creating systems that other people can follow. And then the second thing was that I will, the only thing I'll probably brag about is I have found people in all three of my companies that they become so passionate with my original vision that I sometimes feel guilty for a lack of passion, right? Because they're like so gung ho. So I made them, they made them leaders, and at first it costs more money, and sharing it with them. But I have people that lose sleep at night over each of my companies. So I don't have to. And it's they get the call at 3 a.m. They have to, figure those things out, and it frees me up to work on what's most important, which ultimately then I bring in, more money and more return on investment for those companies. So I made them partners, they became equity partners. They've all been with me, 20 plus years. It was a crawl, walk, and one. They proved it. They kept on growing. And eventually, I gave them equity, which, is golden handcuffs, right? But again, they are crazy passionate. It becomes their headaches. I don't like to deal with the minutia and the operation. I want to go out. So, what I love to do in the DiJulius group, where, as you said, I spend most of my time, is create content, create ideas, write, speak, consult, talk to people. That's where I need to be. And they allow me to do those things, and they get rewarded for it.
So you just set up, so step one is obviously finding great people and developing a framework to so they enables them to run the company, bring it to the next level. And I imagine you just have set up systems. So as my friend Darren Hardy says, you could inspect what you expect.
Yes, and you earlier when we were talking, before we got on, you mentioned one of my favorite all-time books, The Compound Effect. And I love that. I love that book. And I use it towards customer experience, a lot of examples, because I always say the reason why most companies aren't great at customer service, customer experience, is because it's not a short-term gain, right? It's a long-term play. So whether you train your employees on what world-class customer service looks like or not, really doesn't matter today. Right? Our sales aren't going to change, right? If we return, customer complaints, comments and feedbacks and emails and voicemails today, or we don't, really doesn't matter. Again, our sales aren't going to look any different this week, this month. But it's the long-term impact. But too many people go for the artificial growth of acquiring a competitor, slashing prices that do satisfy, the top line, but it doesn't satisfy the bottom line. It usually gets you in more trouble. It's like, it's like, as Darren Hardy points out in The Compound Effect, if we eat that pizza at lunch today, we're not going to look much different tonight, and the scale probably won't look much different. Making those choices over the next 6 months, there's a huge separation.
Yeah. There's another book called The Slight Edge. You ever heard about that book as well?
Love that book. Olson. Something Olson. Yeah.
Yeah. Similar concept. You're right. A cheeseburger today, you're not going to make a noticeable impact, but you know what? 5 cheeseburgers a week over 6 months, a year, it's going to make an impact. And conversely, so 5 new sales calls today, not going to do too much, but 5 new sales calls every day for 6 months, bam, right? As Jack Dilly would say,
exactly.
bam.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah. So let's get to your specialty, customer service. So a lot of the Avanti family are, they're not Starbucks or Ritz-Carlton yet. We hope to be, maybe, right? If that makes sense. But it all starts from day one, ideally, right? You can't all of a sudden have great customer service 10 years into it or have great core values 10 years into it. It starts when you're born, right? If you can integrate it into your DNA from day one, then the company is just going to grow like that. So what are some of your suggestions for small business entrepreneurs to start today to implement some of your customer service strategies?
Yeah, I actually think it's easier when you're small, right? I mean, if you're a big company, and we do work with a lot of big companies and some who are average at best, that want to change. Well, that's like turning a yacht in the bathtub, right? I mean, it's just so big. But when you're a small company, it starts with the leader, right? You got to have executive sponsorship. It has to be in their DNA, and it has to be something that they eat, sleep, and drink. And you can't have a meeting in February and with your team and talk about customer service, maybe even give them a book and then walk away and think that's going to change, right? Annual customer service training is like deodorant. Within time, it wears off and the odor comes back. It has to be visited every single day and talked about and say, let me tell you how David went above and beyond yesterday for a client, and just constantly focusing on from the client's perspective. And so how good any company is at customer service comes down to their service aptitude, their average service aptitude, from the CEO to the janitor to the newest hire that's going to be starting next week. And the paradigm shift there is service aptitude is not innate. It's not common sense. It comes from 3 places, all of ours, yours, mine, everyone's. It comes from previous life experiences. And what that means is most of us didn't grow up staying at 5-star resorts, flying first class, and driving a Mercedes-Benz when we turned 16. Yet the first jobs we got out of school, we were expected to give world-class experience to our clients, patients, tenants, guests, whatever we may call them. And that's not fair. We don't know what world-class looks like. The second place service aptitude gets shaped is previous work experiences. And, most of our employees didn't come from the Ritz-Carlton and Chick-fil-A's and Nordstroms of the world, which means they worked somewhere that someone was paranoid and said, listen, customers are out to take advantage of us. It's your job not to let them. And they say, okay. And then we hire them and they're treating our platinum VIP client like they're trying to get away with something. And, we can't control, as owners and leaders, we can't control those first 2 things. The only thing we can control is number 3, what we do with them after we hire them. And most training, 99% of new employee training is usually operational, technical, processes. And very little, if any, is soft skill. Building a rapport, showing empathy and compassion, and making a brilliant comeback when we drop the ball. And we have to shift that. It needs to have a bigger representation of the soft skill. It doesn't have to be 50-50, but it has to have 25% of their training has to be on those soft skills, and they have to be certified and passed out of it. And that's what the best companies do, is they train relentlessly on the soft skills.
Yeah, and it's funny. Culture, customer service are all known as soft skills, and I don't think there's anything soft about them, right? I mean, I think they're like they are the skills, right? You get that stuff right. We're here in the Northeast, and we have Wegmans. I don't know if you have Wegmans in Cleveland yet, but
I hear they're the Ritz-Carlton of grocery stores.
Well, yeah, they're constantly at the top, near the top, or at the top of the Fortune best places to work, right? And most admired companies. And they're only in the Northeast, right? I mean, Whole Foods has like many, many more locations, and they're great too. Don't get me wrong. But I think they just hit 100 stores a couple years ago. And because you walk in there and the experience, you don't mind paying more. Like you said, the price becomes irrelevant, right? You don't mind paying more. You don't even, it's just because you walk out of there and you're like, oh, that was awesome. I tried the cheese, and the woman who served me, Wegmans sent her to Italy for a month to learn about cheese, right? And her passion made me spend, $12 a pound for this cave cheese that I know nothing about, right?
Yeah. No, listen, Wegmans is one of those that if you're in, the customer service, circles, they're like Southwest. You get sick of hearing about them, right? Because they're so good. For your listeners, making price irrelevant, people think, wow, that's impossible. Making price irrelevant doesn't mean that we can double our prices or even raise them 30% and not lose existing or potential customers. What making price irrelevant does mean is based on the experience your brand consistently gives me at every touch point. I have no idea what your competition charges, right? So we're all price sensitive. And if you've been like me, I've been the idiot that drove 3 extra miles to save 50 cents on something, not realizing I just lost in that exchange. But each of us deal with 1, 2, or 3 brands that we are so loyal to that, that I couldn't tell you, how they compare to the price, because peace of mind, trust, relationship, I'm not out price shopping them. I'm okay if they're 5, 10%, because I know over the long haul, I'm saving money, because a lot of cases, the cheaper you go, the more it costs you.
What is the number one factor in these companies? Is it just finding a unique experience as it relates to customer service? So that when you walk in a Starbucks, if you would have told me, talking about 10, 20 years ago, if you would have told me that I would have gladly paid, $5 or $6 for a cup of coffee, I would have thought you're nuts, right? No, they're 50 cents, right? But hey, every now and then I'm getting a beautiful Starbucks latte with some flavoring in there, and I don't even care about the calories. It's just like, come to Papa, I need this, And I sit there and I go there for meetings, right? Some people call it the third place. What do you see like a common factor where some of these like companies where prices become irrelevant? That what are they doing that's so different?
Well, I don't think there's one. There's several. First, when you're a disruptor, like the brands we're talking about, the Starbucks of the world, the Apple, the Southwest Airlines, the Ubers, all them, they didn't ask customers what they wanted. They gave them what they couldn't live without, And so, like you said, if this was not the mid 80s, and I was doing a focus group, and you were a coffee drinker, and you sat there, I said, David, what would you like in a coffee drinking experience? You would have said, a coffee what? Right? There's 2 ways, with or without cream, with or without sugar, right? For like 25, 50 cents. You wouldn't have said, I'd like to be able, spend 10 times as much. I'd like to be able to order it over 120,000 different ways, which is a true number. And I'd like to hang out here for, 15 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes and knock out emails, read a book, or conduct an interview. So it's creating an exceptional experience that people can't live without. And there's a lot of things that go to that, right? Number one, but which is sometimes given too much credit, your product has to be damn good, right? But a lot of people, Starbucks isn't their favorite coffee, even though they go to Starbucks. Starbucks doesn't win a lot of coffee drinking contests, taste contests, but it's got to be good. You can't have crappy service or product. And what I mean by service is like, if you're in a consulting service, what we do, you better be damn good. The second thing is you got to be brilliant at the basics, right? You got to be consistent, that it's not dependent that, if you go and you get David, great. If you don't get David, hold your breath. No, it has to be across the board, any location, any team member, day or night, Monday, Saturday, it doesn't matter. They love what they do, right? They love who they do it for. They love the industry they're in, and they love the brand they're doing it for. And then personalization is so important, right? So, that I can have my drink my way. That you make a connection with me. It's not just a transaction, it's an interaction, right? That's John, I'm a regular, my drink, that, I travel a lot, I have 3 boys. Those things are important today. And that's why the relationship economy is so important, because the pendulum has swung so far over to high tech, low touch that we're dying to be a human being. I'm not loyal to an app, right? But I'm loyal to David, who I'll give David a second chance if he or someone on his team dropped the ball, because I love David. But an app, or if it's just based on technology, I'm leaving you, tomorrow for the lowest bidder.
Yeah. So true. So true. In this world, I'm thinking of an example where, the car insurance wars, right? Geico, State Farm, Allstate, Liberty Mutual. Wow. Right. Head spinning. But you know what? I have State Farm personally. And you know why? Do I love State Farm? No. You know what though? I love Lino. Lino is my agent. And when I get a fender bender, I have a cell phone number. And I call Lino and I say, what do I do? Right. And he tells me, right, go do the, yep. And so that's why I have State Farm, because Lino Reale is my guy. Right. And I think, to your point, like in this whole crazy world of bigger companies.
Is Lino sponsoring this podcast?
He is not. I know, but look, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about him now.
Put his number across the bottom. But I want to interject something here. I gave a presentation one time and used car insurance as an example, and I played 5 videos, right? And all these, and they were all about how you can get it cheaper, and 15 minutes or less will save you whatever that jingle is. And they were all about price. And they've done it to themselves. If you don't want your customers to be, leave you quit playing that. And the last one I showed was is State Farm, the one with the crazy guy that's on your car windshield, and he's mayhem. I don't know if he is, but
I think is that Liberty? That might be. That's one of them. Yeah.
Okay, but I like that commercial because he's not talking about price. He's actually talking about if you went for the lowest price, guess what? It probably doesn't cover this. And oh my God, and that goes back to the cheaper you go, the more it's going to cost you. I had to pay for my damage. But hey, I'm only paying $199 per month, car insurance. Well, that didn't do me any good.
Right. Yeah. So getting back to, I don't even know if State Farm's the cheapest. And you know what? I don't care, because I know I can call Lino. I am going to have a sponsor this episode.
Lino. I'm calling Lino right now.
I know you're good. Well, you know what though? To the point of all of your books, look, I am talking about him. He didn't ask me to talk about him. I am advertising for him, and he never even asked me to.
And most important, you are getting email, solicitation, mail from all the other competitors, saying that if you switch and save, and you're throwing that stuff out.
Don't even look at it.
Because Lino has made price irrelevant to him.
Yep.
And because he's there for you, he knows you're David. You're not account number. You don't have to read off. Tell me who you are again. Do you have your account number handy? You have your policy number handy? No. Lino knows David.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's mastering the relationship economy. Damn it! I know I gotta write another chapter in my book about Lino.
Right. I'm gonna introduce you to Lino. Well, and to be honest with you, if Lino did go to another firm, I would follow him. Right. I'm with Lino. Right. I'm not with State Farm, even though I am with State Farm. Right. So, but that's because but kudos to State Farm for enabling him and supporting him to have that type of customer service. Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, very good. So, John, before we go, I want to hear a little bit more about your newest book, number 5, by the way, The Relationship Economy. So, why did you write yet another book? What's the new twist on book number 5?
Well, I mean, as you just found out with your new book, what else are we going to do between 12 midnight and 3 a.m.? I mean, we got to fill, that time. I mean,
right? Yeah. Who needs sleep, right?
No, listen. It's because the world we're living in today. There's a seismic shift happening, with all the conveniences technology is bringing us. It's coming at a significant cost, and that cost is human interaction, and which is vital to customer loyalty, employee satisfaction, and personal happiness. And today's illiterate are those who have an inability to make a meaningful connection with others. And so, it's about finding, technology is not the enemy. Using it to eliminate the human, interaction is. And so every generation, we love to pick on millennials and Gen Z, but every generation is relationship disadvantaged, right? We have baby boomers our age and grandparents on social media and hiding behind devices. And I'm as guilty of it as anyone. And we have to be careful. We have to marry the digital with the human. We have to free up use the technology to free up our employees to do the basic tasks, allowing them to focus on what's most important. And that's building. That's the Linos of the world. It's building the relationships that is most vital to lifetime, loyalty. Customers aren't loyal to an app. So that's what, the relationship economy is, where the primary currency is the emotional connections made between customers, employees, and vendors. That does make price irrelevant.
So question, I think I know the answer. I had a heated debate with somebody. I'm not going to mention his name because I think he's wrong. But what is more important? Like if you had to say, if you had to put things in ranking, right? What would come first, sales or culture?
It all starts with culture, without a doubt. It all starts with culture, and you got a great experience. The top customer service companies, all the ones we've been talking about, they advertise the least. You have brand evangelists, both that work for you and that come and buy from you, that are doing your sales for you. Yeah,
I agree.
Culture every day, all day.
The guy I was talking to said he would choose sales over culture any day, and I quieted him down a little bit when I said, if you think about farming, culture is it's the seed, right? It all starts with culture, right? And then it goes from there. You're not going to have any sales unless you have that seed first, right?
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right.
Yeah. Hey, John, this has been super, super fantastic. If people want to contact you, learn more about you, where can they go?
They can go to DiJuliusGroup.com, DiJuliusGroup.com, or email me, John, at DiJuliusGroup.com, and I'd be happy to respond if they have any questions, comments. That's what we're here for.
Very good. I know you do a lot of speaking. Are there any events that you do on an annual basis that just anybody can go to and come see you? Because I know that there's some industry specific.
We have one a year. Yeah. It's the Customer Service Revolution that we have every October. And this is our 12th year we're having it. It's October 6th and 7th in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And last year we had over 700 brands from all over the world attending. And it's, and we've had the Jack Dailies and Vern Harnishes and, all the great speakers and people from leaders from Zappos and the Ritz-Carlton and Chick-fil-A and all that. And so it's 2 days of just customer and employee experience. And it's a great conference of about 20 speakers.
Wow. So it's your event.
It's my event. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just 20 speakers. So it's almost like drinking, as EO says, Vern Harnish, drinking from the fire hose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. I think I would love to come to that. And I love that you have it in Cleveland. A lot of people, I have my conferences in Rochester, my hometown, which is not known as the, metropolis for conferences, but, a lot of people will go to different cities. So, but, and you know what? It's so funny. Cleveland is like one of the only cities in America, one of the only major cities in America that for some reason I have never been to. So I think I'm going to sign up for your conference.
You're less than 4 hours away.
I know. I just never, for some reason, have made it there. And
you'll love it. I mean, that's why we have it. And one of the reasons why we have it, there's two reasons why we kept it in Cleveland. So we had the first year we had in 2009, we said we're going to do it, figure it out, and then take it to the places people really want to go, the Orlandos and Vegas and all that. And after we had it, the reason why we kept it there was two reasons. One, we felt like we were doing something good for Cleveland. And so many people just said, oh my God, I had no idea how nice Cleveland is. But the second thing is that I could never duplicate this anywhere is, I'm able to staff the conference with, 50 or 60, employees from my other businesses that while our lineup is great and people compliment, the lineup, the number one compliment we get is the experience they have. So I got 60 concierges working. You come down the elevator of the, one of the hotels and you come out, they say, there'll be a cute, hairdresser there saying, hi, are you here for the customer service revolution? They'll say, yes. They'll say, oh, what's your name? And then they'll have, Samantha walk you to registration, and they're wired. And they'll say, David Mamano is in the blue suit with the red tie. And then we anticipate. And then inside the room, every table has a concierge stalking it. And so if you drop your pen, they hand you a new one. If you make mention that, you ask the wait staff if they have Mountain Dew and they say, no, we don't carry that, there'll be a Mountain Dew in front of you within 15 minutes. We have people on the roads driving around.
Wow.
And I couldn't replicate that in Vegas or Chicago or Orlando. So that's why we keep it in Cleveland.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never thought about that. If you're going to put on a customer service conference, then you have to massively over deliver, right? I mean, people are going to be looking for stuff going wrong, right?
Exactly. You're right. So that's why it's grown to 800 people today.
Wow. Good for you. All right. I'm coming. I'm going to look that up and I'm coming. And that's all the information is at the DiJuliusGroup.com.
Yeah. Or the Customer Service Revolution. And I think one of our speakers, I just added him to the list, is Lino from State Farm.
I'm coming with Lino. I am coming with Lino. Lino and I are going to come out. You're going to meet Lino. Maybe I'll be a speaker someday, right?
Right.
Well, John, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your time and all that you're doing for the world. Very glad that you were born, and I wish you continued massive success.
Thank you, and thanks for what you're doing for so many entrepreneurs and companies, and the inspiration that you're giving them and the experience sharing.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. And I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing you in October. And I also want to thank the Avanti family for engaging with us today and for really being a beautiful part of the customer service that I'm able to provide. And I always strive to over-deliver with that as well. I urge you, everybody, to go to AvantiEntrepreneur.com. See what we're doing. We have our own events. We have over 150 podcasts with people like Jack Daly we were talking about, et cetera, and just a lot of services and content and inspiration to help you be the best entrepreneur you could be. That's at AvantiEntrepreneur.com. John, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Everybody have a great day, and make sure to stay awesome.